in Brooklyn, New York. I left when I was about 10, and then I moved to Baltimore, Maryland, and I've been here ever since. My relationship with my parents is kind of separate. I left Jamaica when I was 2.5. Like, I stayed with my dad mainly when I was that young, but I don't recall much of it. So when I lived in New York, I was mainly with my mother. So my mother and I are really close, only child, girl, mom. So we got along really well, did everything together. Then I was around 10, 9, my father moved to America, so then I started a relationship with him as well. My greatest accomplishment, I feel, is having my son Aiden. Like, he's the biggest part of my life. I had him in college, and it was very difficult at that time, and to talk to my family and everything that happened, but my family's a big support system, and I feel like I wouldn't change it for the world. Like, Aiden's who I am. Like, everything I do is for him. I get up every morning, go to work for him. I finish school for him right on time. I continue my education for him. I'm doing this faith walk for him. Like, I don't want him to not be connected to God. My first encounter with faith and religion, I would have to say, was when I was in New York. My Aunt Cherry, she was a big believer, and she went to church every Sunday. She went to Bible study every Wednesday. She went to events every Tuesdays and Fridays. So she participated a lot in her church, and she kind of made her nieces and nephews also participate. So I would attend church with her. Honestly, it's not more so what convinced me to be a Christian. As far as one day I was just sitting at home. I believe I was probably 10th grade, and I live across the street from this church. So I'm sitting at home, and I go look across the street, and I'm like, the church is really across the street. Why am I not going to a church that's literally across the street? There's no excuse for me not to be able to attend that church. So one day I just said, you know what, I'm gonna go. I'm just gonna go across there and see what it's like. And I came across here, and back then it was St. Paul's. It was not Journey of Faith. And I grabbed my little cousin, Zena, brought her along with me. Didn't want to go alone. And I came in here, and everyone was very friendly. Everyone was very kind. And I guess everyone just warmed up to the fact that my cousin and I were young, and we just came out and attended church with them. And I just felt very invited and welcomed. And from then, every Sunday, my cousin and I would just come here. And I just felt like it was the right place to be. I felt like my faith was tested when my grandmother passed away, because, my faith was tested then because my grandmother has always been a strong believer, and she's a good person, and she gave her all for everyone, her kids, her extended kids, her family. To see my grandmother laying in the hospital bed, suffering the way she was suffering, I felt like someone like her with such a big heart, with such a kind spirit, and a strong believer, she should not be the type of person to be in the hospital bed suffering. And I just questioned God during that period, because we were there in Jamaica for probably a month, and I spent the whole month back and forth why, and praying. And then my family prayed constantly, night and day, and every time we thought things were getting better and that God was answering our prayers, that she'll be okay, things got worse, and I just couldn't understand why he was making her suffer this way. I think what hit me was she passed away right before New Year's, and on New Year's Eve we all went to church, and I felt like a hypocrite sitting in church and praising God when back in my mind I kept questioning him why he made my grandmother die. That's when it hit me, everyone passes away, and we all know that, so why do we blame God when it actually happens? You know, it's a part of life, and if it's a part of life and we understand that, we shouldn't be upset when it happens, especially if it happens in a peaceful way. And I feel like my faith walk is too new for me to have advice for someone. My main advice would be just come. Just walk in one day to Journey of Faith, to any church, and just sit down and just listen and soak it in and just see what happens. There's so many people who's never stepped foot in church, but they have all these ideas and feelings and beliefs about church, and you never know until you at least step in. Step in and see if you have a faith walk, you know? I feel like that's my main advice to anyone, is that you never know something until you try it, and you won't know God until you're willing to let him in. So I would just say to just step in church one day and see what happens.